All right, today we're jumping into a really chilling piece of South Asian folklore. And we're not just going to tell you a spooky story. No, we're going to pull it apart, piece by terrifying piece, to see what makes it tick and why it's so incredibly scary. Let's get into it. So, everything kicks off with these heartbreaking words from a desperate mother, Savitri. Her son, Mohan, has vanished. It's been 3 days. And with just that one sentence, you are right there with her, feeling that crushing anxiety and pain. It really sets a deeply emotional stage for the horror that's about to unfold. For 4 long, agonizing days, Savitri has done nothing but search. I mean, she's completely exhausted, weak for Maury, but she just refuses to give up. Every single night, she cooks a meal for Mohan, she lights a lamp by the door, and she just waits, waiting for the son that isn't coming home. Okay, now I want you to picture this. The entire village is wrapped in this heavy, heavy silence. It's that deep, pitch black kind of darkness, and the only thing you can hear is a single dog barking way off in the distance. The air itself feels thick with suspense, the kind of quiet that feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. And then, a sound. It cuts right through that silence. It's the sound of scraping sandals. It's a familiar sound, sure, but it's late and the steps are slow, deliberate, getting closer and closer to her door. And it's just enough to pull her out of her troubled sleep. So she lights a lamp, her hands are shaking, and she opens the door. And there he is. It's Mohan. But that feeling of relief she should have, it never comes. Instead, this creeping dread just takes over. His face is pale, totally drained, and there's this weird, unnatural shadow hanging over him. And when she moves in to hug him, he physically pulls away from her touch. Before she can even ask what's going on, he just brushes right past her, sits down, and demands food. And he eats like he's starving, just ravenously shoveling it in. Savitri just watches, her heart pounding with this awful mix of joy and just nameless terror. Finally, she has to ask the question, where have you been? And this is where the whole story shifts. We leave that tense, quiet little house, and we step right into Mohan's shoes, back to the very evening he went missing. He starts to tell his story, and this is where the real horror begins. So, here's the setup. Mohan's walking home on this completely deserted path. He's alone, he's tired, and the most critical part, he's run out of water. His throat is bone dry. And in that desperation, he remembers this old, abandoned well somewhere off the path. And that right there, his isolation, his desperation, that's key. It's the first step in the trap. Because when you're that desperate, good judgment is the first thing to go. He finds the well, tucked away in some trees. And right away, the whole vibe is just wrong. The stone is covered in moss. The water inside is as black as ink. And you can literally feel this coldness in the air. He was scared, for sure. But his thirst was just so powerful that he pushed that fear away. Now, just as he's wondering how he's going to get to the water, he realizes he's not alone. There's a man just sitting there, watching him with this weird, cold smile. The man offers to help and pulls a bucket and rope out of nowhere. Mohan drinks the water, but he notices it has this slightly bitter, earthy taste. Another one of those little red flags. Then the stranger starts a conversation. And it's so normal. He asks Mohan where he's from, about his family, about his job. This is classic predator behavior, right? Building this false sense of security. It's all designed to make Mohan lower his guard, to make him feel indebted and safe with a total stranger. The conversation is so easy that Mohan feels comfortable enough to share his tobacco with the man. He's just so grateful. He tells the stranger, "You saved my life." He feels like he owes this kind person everything. And it's in that exact moment, when Mohan is at his most relaxed and thankful, that the trap finally springs shut. The friendly vibe just evaporates. The stranger's whole demeanor changes, and he says those chilling words. I mean, can you even imagine the cold dread that would just wash over you? The guy who just saved you has now demanded your life as payment for a sip of water. Mohan is just frozen, paralyzed with fear. As Mohan stares in horror, the man starts to change. His face gets dark, his teeth get longer, and his eyes start to glow like red-hot coals. Because the man was never a man at all, he reveals his true form, a khabis, a malevolent demon that's known for its deception, famous for haunting lonely places just like this well. So if you break it down, the demon's strategy is brilliant in a terrifying way. It's not just about brute force, it's pure psychological warfare. First, get the victim alone. Then, offer them something they desperately need to create that sense of debt. Next, build that fake friendship to completely lower their defenses. And only then, when they're thankful and vulnerable, do you reveal the horrifying price. It's just a masterclass in manipulation. So the mind games are over. The khabis grabs Mohan, its grip like iron. Mohan is screaming, fighting, clawing at the ground, but he's got no chance against this thing's strength. And as he's being dragged to the edge of that dark well, his narration just stops. He says, "Everything went blurry." And then silence. And just like that, we snap right back to the present, back to that small, dark room with Savitri listening, her face just a mask of pure horror as her son finishes this impossible story. It seems the nightmare has followed him all the way home. As the last words of his story just hang in the air, Mohan looks his mother in the eye and delivers the final, soul-crushing blow. "Mother," he says, "I am in that well now." And as he says it, his body starts to flicker, his face fades away, and his eyes flare up with that same demonic red glow. In that exact same instant, the oil lamp sputters and dies, throwing the room into total darkness. Savitri is screaming his name, fumbling desperately to get the lamp relit. And when the flame finally catches, the room is empty. The food is still there, but Mohan? Mohan is gone. Savitri's eyes snap open. It's morning. She's in her bed, completely drenched in a cold sweat. Was that all a nightmare? Just a horrible hallucination brought on by grief? For a split second, she clings to that idea, just desperate to believe that none of it was real. But here's the thing. It wasn't a dream, and the cold, hard evidence proves it. On the floor of her home is the plate of half-eaten food, right where she left it. Out by that cursed well, villagers find Mohan's slippers and his little tin of tobacco. And then, looking down into that black water, they find his body. The ghostly visit was real. Every horrifying word of it. Mohan's story has an ending, but the legend of that well, that continues. To this day, people in the village say that on quiet afternoons, if you stand near that spot and listen really closely, you can hear a strange, cold laughter echoing from the well. The evil is still there. The real horror of this story is how it just completely erases the line between a nightmare and reality, and then confirms your worst fears with actual proof. And that leaves us with one final, chilling question to think about. Is that thing still out there? Is the Habis just waiting for the next thirsty traveler to wander by?